Okay, we pay us next week. He did you.
I played there once,
If you look up the heavy hitters of rock and roll during its heyday, and the ones who carried the brand for decades after new genres really piled up, you're gonna talk about the Rolling Stones. This was the band that didn't just make rock and roll cool in the modern day, they became part of pop culture and even inspired a magazine that is still in production today. Key among the members was that of guitarist Keith Richards. He's just as famous as singer Mick Jagger in many respects, and his lifestyle speaks volumes about him in certain ways. Allow us to show you Keith Richards' lifestyle in 2021. Be sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel. 8. Net worth. Let's get right into it. Just how rich is Keith Richards? Well, it might actually surprise you to learn that some people honestly go and value his net worth at about $500 million. That's a stunning amount for an aging rock star, right? Well, there's a lot that goes into that. First off, he's not just a musician from a legendary band. He's a songwriter, producer, actor, and so much more. Not to mention that the Rolling Stones still do tours, and he makes a lot of money off of that alongside his brothers in the band. What's more, he owns co-rights to many of the Rolling Stones' most popular tracks. So he's been getting royalties off of that for decades now. Aside from his production efforts for the Rolling Stones alongside Jagger, Richards has accumulated many production and co-production credits on projects with artists such as Aretha Franklin, Johnny Johnson, and Ronnie Spector. He even has his own record label, Mindless Records, where he has released the track Wingless Angels in 1997, a track which he co-produced. So, as you can see, Keith Richards has done quite a bit over his life, and that's led him to do many crazy things. And we do mean crazy things. 7. Canada, 1977. By the mid-70s, Keith Richards was a drug bust veteran, but this one topped them all and threatened to derail the Rolling Stones at their peak. In February 1977, Canadian cops found roughly an ounce of heroin in Richards' hotel room. Charged with possession for the purpose of trafficking and looking at a potentially lengthy prison term, Richards posted bond and got a special visa permitting him to undergo an experimental addiction cure in the US. By the time his case came up in October 78, there were 500 to 600 people outside every time I turned up in court chanting, "Free Keith, free Keith," the guitarist recalled. Between this avid fandom, a half-hearted prosecution, and a muscular defense, Keith was found guilty but walked anyway. While out on bail, he even partied with Canadian Prime Minister Pierre Trudeau's wife, Margaret, who was hanging out with the band. His community service sentence: to play a benefit concert for the blind, a nod to Rita, the devoted, sightless Stones fan who buttonholed the judge and pleaded on Keith's behalf. "She hitchhiked to our shows. The chick was absolutely fearless," Richards wrote in his 2010 memoir, Life. "The love and devotion of fans like Rita is something that still amazes me." So, yeah, his lifestyle absolutely was in part getting out of trouble with law and doing it in style. 6. Blood, sweat, tears, and wait, what was that about blood? "Adrenaline is the most amazing thing we have," Richards told an interviewer in 1992. Indeed, his ability to go without sleep is almost beyond belief. He recorded Before They Make Me Run from 1978's Some Girls in a 5-day studio binge. One engineer would flop under the desk and have a kip, and I'd put the other one in and keep going, he wrote in Life. But his actual record is almost twice that long. 9 days without a wink, he bragged. "I fell asleep standing up. Eventually, I was just putting another cassette back on the shelf and I was feeling great and I turned round and fell asleep. I fell against the edge of the speaker, woke up in a pool of blood wondering, is that Claret?" Thankfully, he's done better about sleeping in his older years. But no doubt this is something that the younger generation definitely shouldn't copy, because Keith Richards has survived a lot and these kids nowadays wouldn't be able to keep up. That's a fact. 5. His guitar collection. Being a guitar player himself, it's not too surprising that he would go and get other guitars for him to both play and admire. But what might surprise you is just how in-depth that collection is. Richards has a collection of approximately 3,000 guitars. Think about that, 3,000 guitars! You might be lucky if you're able to afford 3 that you play regularly, because why would you want more than that? But when you're Keith Richards and you have enough money to burn, you're darn right you get multiple guitars. And considering that he has a slew of properties that he can call his own, that further adds to the range of guitars that he can house. And should he sell any of them, he could make a pretty penny off them due to how they were owned by him and presumably played by him at one point or another. 4. Family. Another thing you might be surprised about is his family life, because being a rock star legend like he is, you might expect a lot of stories about him with various women. And trust us, those stories do exist, but he did settle down and make a good family life for himself. Richards met his wife, model Patty Hansen, in 1979. They married on the 18th of December 1983, Richards' 40th birthday, and have 2 daughters, Theodora Dupree and Alexandra Nicole, born in 1985 and 1986, respectively. In September 2014, Richards published a children's book with Theodora, Gus, and me, The Story of My Granddad and My First Guitar. Theodora was reported as contributing pen and ink illustrations for the book, which was inspired by the man she was named after, Richards' grandfather, Theodore Augustus Dupree. 3. Mick Jagger. Richards' relationship with bandmate Mick Jagger is frequently described as love-hate by the media. Richards himself said in a 1998 interview, "I think of our differences as a family squabble. If I shout and scream at him, it's because no one else has the guts to do it. Or else they're paid not to do it. At the same time, I'd hope Mick realizes that I'm a friend who is just trying to bring him into line and do what needs to be done." Richards, along with Johnny Depp, tried unsuccessfully to persuade Jagger to appear in Pirates of the Caribbean on Stranger Tides alongside Depp and Richards. It might have been better that he didn't come, just saying. Richards' autobiography, Life, was published on the 26th of October 2010. 11 days prior to its release, the Associated Press published an article stating that in the book, Richards refers to Jagger as unbearable and notes that their relationship has been strained for decades. His opinion softening by 2015, Richards still called Jagger a snob, but added, "I still love him dearly. Your friends don't have to be perfect." And considering that the Stones still tour together with Jagger and Richards headlining, that should say a lot about how they may go and fight a lot, but they know how to perform when the time comes. And like he said, friends don't need to be perfect. 2. Changing things for the better. As we've shown you via his lifestyle stories of the past, Keith Richards is honestly a bit lucky to be alive, and he openly admits that, which brings us to an interview that he did a few years back, where he noted some major lifestyle choices that he was doing. "I've given up smoking since October. Done that, been there." He went on, "Quitting heroin is like hell, but it's a short hell. Cigarettes are just always there, and you've always done it. I just pick them up and light them up without thinking about it. Lately, in fact, spread the news, I've managed to cut it down by a substantial amount every day. I've knocked the hard stuff on the head. I have a little wine with meals, and a Guinness or a beer or 2. This may not seem like much considering that he's 77 years old, which is give or take the natural life expectancy of someone like Richards, but it's a big deal. He knows that if he keeps doing the hard stuff like that, he'll not be around much longer, and he clearly doesn't want that because he wants to keep singing, making music, and more. 1. What's next for Keith Richards? A curious question, for sure, and not one that's 100% easy to answer because, as we've shown you, Keith Richards has had quite a life. He's done good things, he's done bad things, he's made incredible music both solo and with the Rolling Stones, he's tested himself in new ways, and he's had a family. At 77, he's lived a life that most wouldn't survive or dare to dream of, and he still feels like he can play guitar and rock with the best of them. So his lifestyle in 2021 and beyond can best be described as how he treats his whole life on his terms. So, what do you think? What do you think of this look at Keith Richards and how he's done so well even after the heyday of the Rolling Stones? Are you surprised that he's doing so well? Do you think that it's a testament to his ability to change that he's lived this long? What's your favorite Keith Richards moment? Let us know in the comments below. Be sure to subscribe, and we'll see you next time on the channel.